Okay, good evening, dear women. ברוכות הבאות, יש נשים צדקניות. I would like first to start with בעזרת השם שיגיע משיח צדקני במובן בימינו אמן, שיגיע מבשר אליהו הנביא אליהו תשבי אליהו גלידים רב מנשך בן דוד אליהו נביא זכור לטוב. Dear women, I will start with a story because we can see the children of Yochevets here. We can see Nechamadina שתהיה בריאה and דבורה לאה and the sons that Yochevets had. You know, I saw Yochevets only once in my life. And she came to my sister's home, and it was Purim. She came with her husband, Rav Chen, and I was dressing up for Purim to go to the children in the yeshiva in order to be, you know, with a costume on me, like a queen. And I was going out, and Rabbi Chen told me, you know, this is my wife. So that was the first time I saw her, Chodesh Adar. It was Purim, mamash, before Purim. And I saw her for once, and I know that she was a very happy woman. I also heard good things, for example, that if she wasn't invited to a wedding, if somebody forgot to invite her, she said, I know I need to come to make them happy in the wedding. She didn't even wait for an invitation. So this is a lesson. לעילוי נשמת הרבנית יוכבד חן, בת שמואל הנולדת מרחל, תהי נשמתה צורה בצרור החיים. I would like to open with a story. There's a story about a person who wanted to get married. So he decided that he's going to get out of his city and to go to a different city in order to find a bride. He said, I'll have to find someone smart because he was a smart person. So while he was walking, it says that he found an old person walking by him. So he said, tell me, do you know the way to the next city? That old person said, yes, I know. So he said, can I accompany you? He said, yes. So they started walking. While they were walking, he's asking him, it was very warm, very hot, they were sweating. He said, maybe shall I carry you or maybe you shall carry me? And this is a very old person. So the old person looked at him and he said to himself, well, this is a crazy man. He will carry me or I will carry him. This is a very hot day, a very warm day. How can we carry each other? They continued to walk, and then they saw that there were wheat, you know, the crops of wheat from both sides of the way. And they were very tall. They were tall like a human being. So he told him, do you know this wheat? Who does it belong to? He said, yes. The old man said, I know who it belongs to. So he tells him, is this wheat already eaten or it's not eaten? So the old man said, wow, what kind of question? Kvar ne'echal or lo ne'echal? What kind of a question is it? He said, wow, this young person is really, something is not right with him. They were continuing to walk. They went into the city, the next city, and they see a funeral. And a lot of people over there gathering. So the old person went and asked who passed away. So they told him, and he said to himself, "Oy vavoy," and he said a few things, and he came back to the young person. So he tells him, "Do you know who is the man?" He said, "Yes, I know who passed away." So he tells him, "Is he alive or is he dead?" The old person was so angry now. He said, "Excuse me, have a good day. We're in the city. Please leave me alone." He went back home. He went home, and his daughter greets him. So his daughter says, "Father, how are you? How do you feel?" And she sees that he's very angry. She tells him, "What happened? Why are you angry?" He says, "Listen, there was a young person that came with me and accompanied me from the city that I was to come over here. And this person does not really, I don't think that he's really normal. Something is not right with him." So he tells her, she asks him, "Father, what did he do to you?" He says, "You know, it was so warm. We were walking. He's asking me, tell me, shall I carry you or shall you carry me?" Can you think about it? First of all, I'm 78 years old and he wants me to carry him. Can I carry a young person? And he will carry me. We were sweating. It was so warm. So his daughter says, "Father, he didn't mean that you will carry him or he will carry you. He meant maybe you will tell him a story or he will tell you a story in order that it will be easier for you to carry on your way." So the father says, "What are you talking about? You're just you're just giving him a merit. It's nonsense." He said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Can I carry you or can you carry me?" Then he told her, we came to fields of wheat on both sides of the road, he says. And he asked me, and he sees the wheat, and he sees it's growing. It's not bread yet, it's still wheat in the fields. So he says, he asks me, is the wheat already eaten or is it not eaten? So his daughter says, Father, what are you talking about? It's obvious. He means if the owner of the field already sold the field before he cut the wheat. And if he ate the money that he sold, or he still has the money. So did he eat them? Is it eaten or is it not eaten? Her father says, oh, my daughter, this is nonsense. He says, you know what, I'll tell you the third thing that happened to us. We went into the city, and while we were in the city, we saw a funeral. And then this young person asked me, is he dead or alive? Well, doesn't he see he's in a coffin, he's dead, he's not alive. So his daughter says, Father, he means does he have children that is continuing his tradition? If he has children that continues his tradition, he's alive. If he doesn't, he's dead. That was his question. So the old person thought about it. So the old person thought about it, and he said to himself, maybe she's right. I'm going to search for this young person just to know if she's right, if those are the answers for the questions. So he was searching the whole day, and then he found him in a garden. He was sitting on a bench. And he sat next to him and he said, how are you? He said, fine, thank you. So he tells him, you know what? I would like to answer the questions that you asked me. So he said, the first question that you asked me, if you'll carry me or I will carry you. So he tells him the explanation. He says, well, did you mean that maybe I will tell you a story, you will tell me a story, that it will be easier for us to go to the next city to walk? He says, yes, exactly. How did you think about it? He said, and the second question about the wheat, if it was eaten or wasn't eaten, did you mean that if he sold the wheat and already wasted the money before even cut the wheat? So he says, yes, exactly. And he said about the funeral, when you said if he's alive or dead, he asks, did you mean that he has children, generations after, that continue his Jewish tradition? He says, yes, exactly. He says, how did you know the answers? He says, well, I thought about it, said the old man, and now I came to the conclusion that those are the answers. He says, no. The young person said, no, because otherwise, if you would have known the answers, immediately you would have answered me. And we had such a long time to be together. While I was accompanying you to the next city, you would have told me the answers. He said, who told you the answers? He said, well, to tell you the truth, it was my daughter. You know, when you start, well, to tell you the truth, you know, it was my daughter. I have a wise daughter, and those are her answers. So he said, can I see him? Can I meet your daughter? He says, of course. You know what? Come to me and be my guest tonight. So he came to his home. He saw the daughter. He was a guest for a few days in his home. They liked each other, and at the end of that week, they were already engaged. They were already engaged. So what I wanted to tell you, when he asked if this person is dead or alive, dear women, he meant if he has children that are continuing his tradition, his Masoret. And Yochevets, Zichronah Livracha, she has Ben Porat Yosef, children that continue everything that she did. And you can see also Dvorah Leah that continued the Hebrew school that was here. Shtiya Bria, now she's in Israel, Shela B'Shah Tova, her and her husband and her family. So you can see that they are continuing the tradition. I would like to mention, dear women, I would like to mention to you, dear women, first of all, before we continue, that this Shabbat, we are going to read two portions of the week, Vayikal Pikudei, and the Shabbat is called Shabbat Parah. This is called Shabbat Parah. You remember this is Shabbat of a cow. It's all about the red cow. And from Parashat Chukat, Bechumash Bamidbar, dear women, it's about the red cow that it makes people that are impure into pure people when they take the efer, that ashes of the red cow. Dear women, just like the ashes of a red cow makes impure to purity, this is what happens with the death of righteous rabbis and Rabbetzins, dear women. This is exactly the same thing. Usually when a big rabbi or big Rabbetzin pass away, this is kapara ladorot. It's a kapara over the generation. It's like a forgiveness for the generation, dear women. So it's exactly the same thing. I would like to continue with the prophet Yirmiyahu. The prophet Yirmiyahu says a beautiful thing that the sages spoke about. Shh. He says, Al tifku lamet ve'al tanudu lo. He says, do not cry for the dead person. Shh. Do not cry for the dead person, and do not mourn him. Bacho bachu laolech. You should cry for the person who goes away. Ki lo yashuvot ve'ra et eretz moladeto. Because he's not going to come back, and he's not going to see his birthplace. This is very weird. Don't you think the sentence is weird? He says, Al tifku lamet, do not cry for the person who passed away. But then he says, look, do not cry and do not mourn him. But then he says, Bacho bachu laolech, do cry for the person who goes away again to the next world. So it seems like there's a contradiction over here. Because the prophet says, on one side, do not cry, and on the other side, do cry. So what the prophet meant over here? Dear women, the prophet meant when he said, Al tifku lamet, he was speaking about the dead person that has children and sons that are continuing his way. Which means that they will say Kaddish over him, Banim mamshichei masoret. Mamshichei masoret. Which means they will continue his way, they will say Kaddish, they will study Torah, they will do mitzvot and good deeds. This is a person that is not truly dead because he is still alive. Pharaoh said, you know, Paro, the king of Egypt, he said, Mi el kamocha ba'elim Hashem. Who is a God like you? Among the gods, God. Well, when you use the word Ba'elim, you see over here, Ba'elim, among the gods. Elim, over here, stands for Yaakov. The Yud stands for Yaakov. The Aleph stands for Avinu. And the Lamed Lo. And the Memet. It means Yaakov Avinu Lo Met. And you will ask, how come? What did he mean, Paro, when he said that? Look how beautiful it is. What did he mean? Because we know that they buried Yaakov Avinu. Where was he buried, dear women? Ma'arat HaMachpelah. So we know he was buried. So what did Paro mean when he said that? Mi kamocha ba'elim Hashem. And Elim stands for Yaakov Avinu lo met. Which means Yaakov Avinu, our forefather, did not pass away. Because he had 12 sons, Yudbet Shvatim, that were continuing his way. That's why he was not considered as dead in this world. He was considered alive in this world because of the 12 sons. Paro wanted to cause his children not to continue Yaakov's ways, but he did not let them. All the 12 tribes continued because of the righteous women of Egypt, of the Jewish people in Egypt, dear women. בזכות נשים צדקניות נגאלו עם ישראל ממצרים וזכותן עתידין להיגאל. Because, and you know who are the righteous women of Egypt? You know who are the righteous women of Egypt? Dear women, we are the righteous women of Egypt. Listen very carefully. The Arizal says that the generation of Mashiach, which we are the generation of Mashiach, is the generation of the people that were in Egypt. That's why it's written, בזכות נשים צדקניות נגאלו עם ישראל ממצרים וזכותן עתידין להיגאל. We are the reincarnations of those women, those righteous women that helped their husbands to believe in Hashem. Those righteous women that when their husbands did not believe that there will come a Mashiach and take them out of Egypt, they took buckets of water and washed their legs and took buckets of fish and baked it for them and they gave them to eat. Those are the righteous women that helped the men to truly believe in Hashem, dear women. And we are the reincarnation of those women. I want you to understand this. And it says, and we continue the same sentence, it says, and do cry for the person who went away from this world, because he's not going to come back and he's not going to go back to his birthplace. What does that mean? It means for a person who does not have children who continue his ways, that they do not go. En lo banim mamshichei masoret. This person, that's why for a person who has, if we had the merit to teach our children to go to yeshiva, to teach our children to know Torah, to teach our children to keep Shabbat, to teach our children to know Hashem, then we did what we needed to do in this world. Because when we pass away to the true world, it's like passing through a phase. Our soul goes out. Our soul carries our body. That's why it's like we don't have weight, because our soul carries our body. Once the soul goes out, the body itself is very heavy. It's very heavy. You can see a dead person, you have to carry him, he's heavy. But when the soul is inside the body, she carries the body with her. Just like the ark, the holy ark. The holy ark used to carry itself. Even though the Leviim carried it, they did not truly carry it. Because can you think about an ark that is all around it, everything is gold, and inside it's gold, it's very heavy. Gold is a very heavy metal. They couldn't carry it. But the ark carried itself. This is how we carry it. The soul carries itself. The soul carries the body. So dear women, if we teach our children to go in the right way, Be'ezrat Hashem, like Rabbetzins Yochevets that taught her children to go in the right way, then we have continuation in this world. We are alive in this world even though we pass to the true world. Do you understand? Even though we pass to the true world, we're still alive. There's a story about a person that had a garden, and he had two trees of different trees of fruit that were in the garden. After a few years they grew, but one tree had fruits on it and the other one did not have fruits on it. Toda. Baruch atah Adonai melech haolam שהכל נהיה בדברו. One of them had fruits on it, but the other one did not have fruits. And then there was a storm, a big wind, a stormy wind came, and it pulled the trees out of the ground, from the roots. So he was looking at the trees and he was crying. So they told him, don't cry, we'll try to plant it again, don't worry. He said, I'm not crying from both of the trees, I'm only crying from one tree. So they asked, we are sure that you're crying for the tree with the fruits on it. He said, no, I'm crying for the tree that does not have fruit on it yet. So they said, why? Because it still does not have fruit, so why are you crying over it? He said, because the one that does have fruit, I can take the fruit, and from the chartzanim, the seeds that are inside the fruit, I can plant it and have another tree like this. But the one that does not have the fruit, I cannot plant it. This is exactly what the prophet says. The person who teaches his children on the ways of Torah, he has fruits, and the person in this world, even though he passes away, he is continuing to live through his children. His children elevate him to a higher spiritual place in the true world. But a person who does not have children that are continuing him in the Masoret of the Jewish people, he does not have someone to elevate his soul. I will give you a story about Rabbi Akiva in order that you will understand. I know it's very hard to listen to a lesson, but a little bit more patience. And Rabbi Akiva, there's a big story about Rabbi Akiva in the Gemara, that once he was walking and he saw a person that was black, but it seems like he was dealing with coal, pecham. So he was very black. So he told him, tell me, and he had a lot of branches on his back. He was carrying it. So Rabbi Akiva told him, stop, I would like to know who you are. So he said, I cannot stop. He says, no, you have to stop because I'm ordering you to stop. So he stopped and he came to him, he said, are you a human being or a demon? He says, I am a human. I used to be a human being, but now I'm in a different world. He says to him, what happened to you? Why are you carrying trees? Why do you look like this? So he tells Rabbi Akiva, listen, I cannot stop now because the demons, the bad angels are looking at me and they will be very angry that I'm late. He says, what's happening with you? He says, every day, 3 times a day, I have to collect trees, branches, and go to them, and then they burn me. Every day, 3 times a day. He says, this is my punishment. He says, why are you punished? What did you do? He says to Rabbi Akiva, I need to go, because if I won't come, they say, what happened to you? Why didn't you come on time? He says, you have to stay because this will be for your fixing. Tell me, what did you do? He says, I did not do any mitzvah in this world. I did not listen to Hashem at all. I did whatever I wanted in this world. And he says, now every day I'm burnt. I have to pick up the branches, go to the angels, and they burn me every day, 3 times a day. So he tells him, tell me, do you have a son? He says, I don't know if I have a son, but I left a wife that was pregnant. I don't know if she had a baby or she didn't have a baby. He says, okay. He asked him, where did you live? He told him the name of the city, and Rabbi Akiva left him. So Rabbi Akiva went from city to city to find that city. He found the city, and he asked the people if they heard about this person. So they said to him, Shem Rashaim Yerakev, which means the name of wicked people should rot. So he said, do you know his wife? He mentioned her name. They said, she's the same. So he said, at least tell me, where is his wife? Does he have a child? He says he has a son that is Arel, that didn't even have a Brit. He didn't have even a Brit Milah. But they said they live at the edge of the city, at the end of the city. You can go over there, you'll find his son. So Rabbi Akiva went over there, and he took the son, and he told him, I would like to teach you Torah. And the son didn't really want to study Torah, and he was Arel. So first of all, he said, you have to do Brit Milah. And this son did Brit Milah, the son of that person. So he did Brit Milah, but he did not understand anything that he was taught in the Torah. So it says that Rabbi Akiva, look what a righteous person Rabbi Akiva was. He made ta'aniyot, he fasted in order that God will accept his prayers, so this boy will understand Torah. So he fasted, it says that approximately 80 fasts, in order that this boy will understand Torah. After he fasted, he taught him first the blessings. And when he taught him the blessings on Shabbat, he took him to the synagogue. And over there, he told him to go and to read from the Torah. Once he said Baruch Hashem, Baruch Shmo. Once he mentioned the name of Hashem by reading the Torah, immediately his father was taken out of hell and was brought to paradise. That night, it was Motzei Shabbat, Rabbi Akiva was sleeping. He came to him in his dream, and he said, thank you, you don't know what you did for me, because you taught my son Torah, and he had Brit Milah, and when he came on Shabbat, especially on Shabbat, to say Kaddish and to read from the Torah, they took me out of Gehinom, of hell, and they put me in paradise, dear women. So he blessed Rabbi Akiva, and he went back to his place, to paradise. So dear women, look what does it mean that your children continue your way. Dear women, you know, on the sin of Chet HaEgel, the golden calf, there was not even one woman that participated in that sin. It was only men. Only men died during the time that they were in the desert. None of the women died because of that.
Did women give their jewelry?
No, dear women. I taught you this, if you go to the lesson that I taught you of that Parashat Ki Tisa, we studied it, and you can see that the women, Aaron the priest, told the men to take the jewelry from the women. And why did he do that? Because he knew that the women will not give their jewelry to the men. So who gave the jewelry? The men themselves. The jewelry that they had when they went out of Egypt, and they took the jewelry, and they took it also when, the Egyptian army was drowning and all the gold went out. So the gold that the men had, that's what they gave Aaron. That's why King Solomon said, Echad me'elef lo matzati. 1 from 1,000 I could not find. Did not find one woman that sinned in the golden calf. Dear women, we can bring Mashiach. Do you understand, dear women? We can bring Mashiach if we will understand what is our role in this world. When we understand what is our role in this world, then Bezrat Hashem we can bring Mashiach. Because we are the reincarnation of the women from Egypt, and they were very righteous. It says for the kiyor, for the sink, the women brought the mirrors to Moshe Rabbeinu, and they told him, from this do the sink. And Moshe Rabbeinu told Hashem, I don't want to do this thing from the mirrors. Mirrors, they wanted to look pretty, and they looked in the mirror in order to be pretty. God said, no, this is the best sacrifice, because they wanted to be pretty only for their husbands. Even though Paro said that every son that will be born will be drowned in the Nile, even though they brought children, because they had confidence in Hashem. So they brought children in order that their husbands will look at them when they were tired from the hard work in Egypt. They looked in the mirror and made themselves beautiful, pretty for their husbands. So God says this is the best sacrifice, because this is how the children of Israel, Knesset Israel, which is the bride of Hashem, of God, should behave. We should not desert our husband. Who is our husband? The husband of Knesset Israel? God Himself. So if we do not keep Shabbat, for example, it means, because God told Moshe Rabbeinu, Matanali, I have a gift to give to the children of Israel. Shabbat Shema, her name is Shabbat. He says, go and tell them. So if we do not accept the matana, the present, dear women, then if we do not accept the present, it means that we do not accept the marriage. So, dear women, I would like to tell you, I know it's late and I know we're sitting all over here together. I would like to tell you, Be'ezrat Hashem, that it's zchuta shel Rabbanit Yochevets, Be'ezrat Hashem, that everybody will see that he keeps Shabbat, Be'ezrat Hashem, bli neder. Everyone over here. Try to keep, dear women, righteous women, try to put cover on your heads, dear women. It's very important. When you're married, put a cover on your head. If it's hard for you, even when you pray, when you daven, you should put a cover on your head. When, Be'ezrat Hashem, when you sit down and eat, put a cover on your head. On Shabbat, you're with your family, cover your head. Everything that you do, our children is like a sponge. They study, they learn. So everything that they receive from you when they get married, they will do exactly the same thing. So Be'ezrat Hashem, with those words, I would like to tell you שבעזרת השם יגיע המשיח צדקנו במהרה בימינו אמן. שיגיע מבשר אליהו נביא זכור לטוב, ולא מפרד אדם מחברו בדבר הלכה יחיד ברבים הלכה כרבים. I know it's hard.